99-cent rental.
This is 99 Cent Rental. I'm your host, Brian White, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Dave White. Hey, Dave, how you doing over there?
Oh, hello. I'm pretty good. Oh, cracking a cheer wine, I see.
I'm cracking a cheer wine.
I'm pretty good. I just finished watching the Titan documentary. Did you see that?
I've not seen that one.
So we watched the other night we watched the one that's on, I think, HBO. And then last night and tonight we watched the Netflix one. Do you know anything about this story?
No.
It's the guy who was like, I'm going to build a fucking carbon fiber submarine.
Oh, it's the one about the billionaires who got crushed underneath the ocean.
Yeah. This guy was a massive piece of shit. He was like a huge fucking narcissist.
Well, given the fact that his submarine was crushed under the weight of the ocean when it was, supposed to be rated to withstand those kinds of pressure, and he was just like,
I mean, that's the thing, though, is that it was never going to withstand that much pressure. And everyone was like, I think maybe you want to choose a different hobby because this is going to kill people. And he was like, poppycock, horse feathers, I say. Let's get in there and get under the water.
Yeah. I remember when all that went down and everybody was cheering for death.
Now, I get why you'd cheer for his death, because he absolutely got what he deserved, because he knew this was going to kill people. Like, everybody just kept being like, this is not a safe thing. You cannot do this. And he was like, you're fired. And then, but like the other people, they didn't know that it was unsafe. So they kind of, they basically got murdered.
When they started to like show the photos of the craft on the inside, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know how bad I can feel for a bunch of people who looked into that craft and thought, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm cool with that. We're gonna control this thing with a third-party PlayStation controller.
Oh no, it's an actual PlayStation controller. But PlayStation was pissed.
So I thought it was like a Mad Catz one.
No.
No. Boy. Yeah. I just the fact that somebody looked at that and went, this looks good. This looks structurally sound. I'm going to get inside this thing and go down to the Titanic.
It kind of made me wonder, like, we keep coming across these men in American culture. Elon Musk's, your Trumps's, your whatever this fucking guy's name was. And yet we can't seem to see the similarities or learn a lesson from them.
I think that it's a bit of a sort of a social antibody for people with too much money. You know, it's just like they just do themselves in eventually.
I mean, what is America if not a tiny submarine that is about to be crushed underneath the weight of the ocean?
That's quite a metaphor. A metaphor. Yeah.
There you have it.
Huh. Yeah. Today I worked all morning, and then I came home and I watched Jaws.
It's a good movie.
And then I watched Jaws 2.
That's a less good movie.
I don't like that one. Because you know what really struck me as I was watching Jaws is I was like, fuck, this movie is incredible. We're rounding the corner towards the smile you son of a bitch part. I start to well up a little bit. I know it's coming. I get a little emotional. I'm very happy. I'm very excited. And then Jaws 2 starts almost like immediately because we're watching it on Peacock. And
were you watching it on like TNT?
Yeah, watching it on Peacock. It may as well be, but the Jaws 2 starts, and almost immediately I'm like, oh my God, this is like a sharksploitation Jaws ripoff.
Yeah, it's the same story.
Yeah. Plus, it's lots more screaming, lots more Donna Wilkes just screaming.
Oh man, Donna Wilkes in that fucking movie. I would have been like, you know what? I'm going to push this boat right back out. We're going to send you out to sea. You'll figure it out when you're ready to come back and stop screaming. We'll come and get you. Goddamn.
Oh, it's a very screamy, very loud movie.
I'll tell you what though. Who's an underappreciated actor? Roy Scheider.
Dude, that dude had it going on, man.
Yeah, he was good. All that jazz.
I was about to say, you ever see All That Jazz?
So good in that.
Good God, man! It takes a behemoth, an actor, a thespian behemoth to play Bob Fosse like that.
Mm-hmm.
Good God, what a crazy fucking movie.
I mean, he could have been a little gayer, but yeah, whatever.
Oh, no. Bob Fosse wasn't gay.
No, not at all. Joel Gray would like a word, though.
Yeah. Hey, it's hard to explain to someone who never had the experience what a trip to the video store was like back in the day. The shelves were choked with absolutely bizarre crap, just like tonight's movie. Oh my God. Made on tiny budgets. I guess this movie had a pretty adequate budget.
It actually has a pretty healthy budget.
Yeah. Completely divorced from any recognizable reality. Oh yeah. And it was the best. We intend to talk about every one of them. Just before we get into it, here's a little housekeeping. If you want to keep up with us between episodes, you can also find us on Instagram at Bring Me the Axe Pod. Dave's over there at That Queer Wolf. I urge you to give us a follow.
Please do.
Yeah, check us out. We're fun. And if you don't know, we have another show called Bring Me the Axe. But you fucking know that. Come on. Our latest episode.
Would you just stumble onto this one?
I wonder how, man. There are definitely people who are subscribed to 99-cent rental, but are not subscribed to.
Well, hey, if listener, if you are one of them, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I think some of our best episodes, 99-cent rental.
I agree. Like when we rounded the corner for this year, and we were like talking about like some of our favorite episodes of last year. I think all of my favorite episodes were 99-cent rental episodes.
Oh,
yeah. But yeah, latest episode, Bring the Axe, is covering Cat People from 1942.
Lesbian crisis.
Existential crisis for lesbians.
Uh-huh.
We'll be back with next week with a look at What's the Matter with Helen.
Lesbian existential crisis. One could argue.
You know it. Don't sleep on our Friday the 13th bonus episode looking at the final chapter.
Spoiler, we didn't like it.
Did we not like it, or were we just like, did we just come out the other end like, what the fuck?
I knew how I was going to end that one, but I think you were a little surprised.
Yeah, that was another one. That was me basically like really struggling with my opinions. I was like, it was like going through part 2 all over again.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, you can also contact us directly at 99centrentalpod@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or suggestions. Do let us know if there's a cheesy movie that you love, would like to hear us give it the business. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can look us up over there, patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. There's a couple of tiers you can join there. Subscribers at the $5 a month tier can look forward to our bi-weekly X-Files rewatch pod. Do you think I'm spooky? What are we looking at? What are we looking at this week?
Miracle
Man. The healing touch one. A lot of farting preacher in that one as well.
Yep.
And yeah. We'll our monthly Bring Me the Axe Millennium Edition also comes with the package. It's a bonus episode in which we explore a modern horror movie. Our current episode is Jamie Marks is Dead, and which is in keeping with our current and ongoing Pride series for June.
Next month was a cavalcade of laughs.
we got
and chaos.
Fun guests, a lot of laughing. Yep. And then there's also my bi-weekly DJ show, Radio Free Haddonfield, in the weeks when Do You Think I'm Spooky is off. The current episode is a big old hair metal celebration.
Sometimes you need that.
Bangs teased to the sky. I know. I was addicted to the song Back for More by Rat.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a whole fucking set of this.
Because
I'll tell you what, I unironically love that Rat record, Out of the Cellar.
Every now and then it hits the spot.
It definitely does. I think next week after next episode, it's going to be a power pop list.
Okay.
You know?
Like what?
Little Velvet Crush, maybe some Big Star.
Okay. I do like Big Star.
Maybe some Pablo Cruz. Definitely some Cheap Trick.
Well, now you're talking. I like Cheap Trick a lot.
Yeah.
Not like I don't like 80s Cheap Trick.
No. But fucking In Color, Live at the Budokan, Dream Police, even.
Yeah, it's a good ones.
Yep. You can expect a surprising mixtape of everything from rock to disco to power pop over there. Also, all Patreon subscribers, even the free tier, get access to our Discord server. Paying members get access to additional channels, voice and video chat, and the watch parties option, which last couple of weeks I slept on. I just was not available for them. But no, we're gonna pick it up. We'll pick it up next week for What's the Matter with Helen, for sure. Once again, that's patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. And lastly, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. Search us by name and subscribe if you prefer to consume a podcast that way. It is a strange way to listen to podcasts over there, I suppose.
I don't. I have no idea. I know people use YouTube a lot. I am a bit of a Luddite.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, is it used to be, we used to just auto-publish to Google Podcasts, and then they stopped, they killed off Google Podcasts, just migrated their RSS services over there. Mm-hmm. It works if you are a YouTube. It really, I mean, it works one way or the other. You're watching your fucking browser. You can bring it up on TV if you want. But like, it really, I think it was really intended to be ported over to YouTube Music. But yeah, like people are always like, I think we get some comments every now and then that are like, "What the fuck? Where's the video?" And it's like, suck it.
Yeah, seriously.
That's where the video's at.
Do you want a video of two middle-aged dudes just sitting in their houses?
Nobody wants to look at that. Nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you do listen on YouTube, do us a favor, give the episode a like, leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Also, you'd be doing us a huge favor. Speaking of liking and commenting and all that, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yes.
Do
yes,
it right.
Do that.
Do it right now. It's so fucking easy.
Listen, I know there are thousands of you listening, and the number of reviews we have is in the double digits. You gotta help me out. Come on.
I know that always works. We gotta browbeat your listeners.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna shame y'all. It's not gonna work.
Oh yeah. Anyways, we do love hearing from you guys, and comments are very encouraging. It's very nice to see when people take the time to just pop in a little comment.
Yeah, tell me what is your favorite Cheap Trick song and why is it Surrender?
It's Surrender. I would say Hello There is a pretty good song. Yep. But yeah, I just want to get all that out of the way right at the top of the show because thank God there's a trailer in English. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Here's what we're talking about tonight.
Something horrible is invading New York. Something terrifying. Something you've never seen before. It's the killer condom, the rubber that rubs you out. Danger is everywhere. The army of condoms have overrun the city. Only one man is brave enough to take on the crazed condom. Luigi Macaroni, police detective. He alone must do battle with the army of death, preying upon the citizens of New York City. Played by Udo Samuel, star of the masterpieces of German cinema, Far Away So Close and Caspar Hauser, Macaroni must save the city and himself from the destructive power of the killer condoms. The conspiracy that he uncovers is so shocking that it could cost him his life. Under the direction of Martin Walz and boasting the lavish production of Ralf Dietrich and Harold Reichhefner, Ralf Konig's comic book becomes terrifyingly real, brought to horrifying life by Academy Award winner H.R. Geiger, whose creations thrilled you in Alien and Species. Killer Condom was an official selection of the prestigious Berlin Film Festival and has won accolades from audiences worldwide. In a world where safe sex is deadly, it's the killer condom, the rubber that rubs you out. It's from Troma, of course.
I'm gonna tell you something. That trailer fucking sucks.
That trailer, you know what really surprises me about that trailer is how deeply they lay it on about like the production credits.
Yeah, and it's a bit misleading, but also like the VO is that guy could not get through that shit fast enough.
He had a lot to say. It was a very wordy trailer.
Yeah,
but yeah, they got a lot more to say about like the production than I do. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
You had access to a little bit more information than I did, since you own the Vinegar Syndrome release. And but
I like this. I like this movie very much.
Did this one come to you in the subscription and like kind of take you by surprise?
Absolutely, 100%. So I have made my feelings about Troma known. I do not like their movies. I do not like them as a company.
This is not a Troma movie, though.
No, it's not. I think Lloyd Kaufman's a jerk off.
It's just a one of the ones that they distributed.
But that was one of the reasons why I had always been like, no, thank you. But it did. I got it in part of the subscription, and I was like, fuck it. I watch everything they send usually. Unless it's like something that I clearly will not enjoy or find offensive. And so I watched it and I was like, holy shit, this movie is way better and smarter and funnier than I expected it to be.
I avoided it for very much the same reasons. I remember very clearly working at the record store, and like we would stock this one, and it just, I looked at it, I was like, Killer Condom. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a pretty dumb name.
And so I never really bothered to pick it up. And so when you put this on the list, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I probably was just as surprised as you were.
It is a surprisingly complex movie. There's a lot going on.
I think maybe a little too much going on.
Well, yes, and there's a reason why that is, and we'll get to it eventually. But yeah.
So yeah, let's just dive in. Let's just bathe in the flow, shall we?
Sure. The year was 1996.
1996, year of our Lord. Here were some other movies that were released in 1996. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer 2. The Legend of Curly's Gold.
I wish.
No, Part 2, Mask of Sanity came out that year. I've never seen it. I can only assume that it's a piece of garbage.
I think anytime they wait like 10 years to do a follow-up,
yeah,
it's probably not going to be that good.
No. Also released that year, Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood.
Speaking of not good.
Another one I've never seen. It looks ridiculous. And also in 1996, Kazam, the movie starring Shaq, not Shazam starring Sinbad.
Yeah, don't be racist, everybody. There's different movies and different people.
The fuck is that? Is that supposed that internet phenomenon called the
Mandela effect?
The Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is not real, you guys.
No, absolutely not.
This is just
you just have a bad memory.
Because when people were like, "Yeah, I remember there being a movie called Shazam starring Sinbad," it's like, no, you guys. There is a movie called Kazam starring Shaq.
That mistake is kind of racist.
It really is. Here's another one that came out that year that is really fucking weird. Mr. Wrong. Have you heard of Mr. Wrong?
Is this the Ellen DeGeneres movie?
This is the Ellen DeGeneres romantic comedy.
Nuts. Well, she blew it because this came out like right after she came out.
Right.
Or like right before.
Do you know who directed this movie?
I can't remember, but I did used to know this.
It's Nick Castle.
Yes. Yeah, he's directed a lot of weird shit.
His career trajectory is fucking strange.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. And lastly, rounded out 1996, Ed, which is a movie about a chimpanzee who plays third base for a Major League Baseball team, starring a guy in a chimp suit. It sounds like a Troy McClure movie.
Look, monkeys were fucking hot in the 90s. Everybody, you got Dunstan checks in. You've got the fucking monkey on Friends.
You got Hail to the Chimp.
Hail to the Chimp, which is a Troy McClure movie.
Christmas Ape. And Christmas Ape Goes to Summer Camp.
Yeah. And monkeys were really having a renaissance in the late 90s. Yep. And I don't know why.
I would say their appeal lasts today. Simians in movies in general. I mean, there's a whole resurgence of Planet of the Apes movies. King Kong movies are doing real well right now.
Yeah, those are good.
Everybody loves a monkey.
That's true.
Yeah.
In that movie, what was that one where he kills the people? Was it the Jordan Peele movie?
Keanu?
No, not that one.
That one is about a monkey, though.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
What's the one after? What's the one that just came out? The fucking with the aliens.
Up? No.
That's a Pixar.
Don't look up. Don't look up.
No, that's not. That's somebody else's movie.
It's called Nope.
Nope, that's the one.
Boy, yeah. We got there. We got there, man, didn't we?
There's a monkey in that. Not a real monkey, but if you ever want to see something really eerie, so I've not seen Nope, but apparently there is a scene where this monkey goes wild and like kills everybody on the set in this really brutal, vicious way. And the guy who is doing the motion capture for the chimp is doing exactly, obviously he's doing motion capture. He's doing exactly what the chimp does, but he's also it's as though he's in the movie. So he's got blood all over him. And it's so fucking creepy to watch a human being do this part. Because he's walking around like a chimpanzee would walk. And he like walks up to the kid and like wipes the blood on his face. It's so fucking creepy. You should look it up. Because they do them. If you look it up on YouTube, you can see them side by side.
Okay.
It is really
Is it Andy Serkis?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I guess Andy Serkis is too old at this point.
That was like we were having a fucking stroke right there. I just looked up the Key and Peele movie, Keanu. Not a monkey, it's a cat. It's a fucking cat.
That would make sense.
I had to cut all that shit out.
I say leave it in. This is 40, y'all.
Oh my God. Yeah. So cast and crew. I'm going to do my best here.
Martin Walz.
Martin Walz. He's a German director. And he's done a bunch of movies.
In Germany.
In German, with German titles, relevant to German audiences.
Yeah. He's a really interesting guy. Like, he seems like a very kind of a fun-loving fellow. Likes making movies.
I like
Seems
that.
like people like working with him a lot.
He recently, I don't know, I don't want to say recently, but like in the last several years, he did a TV show that I wonder if I can fucking find. It's called is it Berlin Babylon, which is about the Weimar period.
And
it stars
in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it stars not just him, but like a bunch of people from this movie. I get the feeling Waltz is one of those guys who gets a cast and crew and just kind of
he is, and I will talk about that because it's very interesting.
Okay, do talk about that because that's really about all I know about this guy.
Yeah, he's just he is. I think this was his first movie, like his first feature length.
I do
movie.
think it is his first because before this, there's a couple of other movies, but I believe they're short films. Yeah.
So he said that he made right before this because he had wanted to go to film school and he couldn't. There was only one film school, I think, in Berlin or in Germany. Maybe.
This would have been Iron Curtain days.
Yeah, just about. Probably right after, because he was pretty young when he made this, and so he didn't get in, and so he instead went to NYU. Had this like accelerated program, like if you wanted to do, they have it at
they've got one at UCLA. Oh, at USC, that's right.
USC, where it's like if you want to learn how to be a second director or AD or something like that, you can do like this 6 or 8 week program. It really just gives you the basics, and he did that. Went back to Germany, made like this kind of silly short film with his girlfriend. And submitted it, and I guess a couple people thought it was pretty great. Germany, it sounds like, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have programs that generously supported the arts in different ways. And so he had wanted to make a movie based on Ralf Konig's other series, which is called Maybe, Maybe Not. And
which did eventually get...
So he wanted to, he was like, I bought the rights and he just could not get anybody because Konig was like, yeah, sure, you can fucking make it. I don't care. Yeah. But he could not get anyone to fund the film. So his license on it ran out. And as soon as it ran out, somebody with money grabbed it up, made it. But because that movie did very well, that movie is not, or that storyline I don't think is like explicitly gay. I think it's like, I think it might have gay characters in it, but I think it's just kind of a standard story.
Yeah. It's not really a romantic comedy, but it's sort of in the mold.
Yeah. And it did very well because the comic was very popular as well. And so based on that doing well, he was able to then be like, all right, let's do this other one. And people were like, yeah, sure. The other one did well. Maybe this one will do pretty well. And so he got this off the ground and basically just started assembling a cast and crew from people that he knew. Like there was really no casting process. It was just like, who do I know that can play this role? And there's some bigger names in this movie. At the time, they weren't that big. Udo Semel is not that big at the time. He had been in a bunch of stuff. He is much bigger now. He was in a lot of theater stuff.
Yeah. Which is funny because he does, for all of Ralf Konig's cartoon style, he does kind of look like the character.
He is fantastic. I don't think anybody else, and Walz said the same thing. He's like, I cannot see anybody other than Udo playing this role.
Yeah.
He's like kind of like a little bit of like a second tier gay Bob Hoskins.
That's exactly what comes to mind when I was watching this. That's all I could think of is Bob Hoskins in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yep. And so Walz, like, he basically just assembles this group of people and kind of like John Carpenter, where he's like, who do I know that knows how to do this stuff? And he, was kind of self-aware enough that he was like, I don't know how to do a lot of this stuff. I will trust that other people do.
Yeah.
And then they ended up getting a little bit of money from a production company and then saw like a sort of larger distributor production company. And then they got like, I think $1 million from the government to make it.
Germany also has a like a tax credit system, very similar.
I think
to
it works like Canada. In
very,
that, like,
I was about to say it's just like Canada's. I believe that it still exists.
I think it's like Canada's is now. Like a certain percentage of some taxes go to this arts program.
Yeah, because what was it? Menachem Golan did that when he was first coming into canon.
The Apple.
The Apple was one of the ones where he would they would run out of money, and then he would go to like West Berlin and have just meetings, and then would come back with like another $1 million.
Yeah. And so because West Berlin, so the Berlin Wall had come down a couple of years earlier. And because of that, it sounds like the German government was kind of like eager to get their shit together and be, sort of like reunify and be seen as a kind of relevant cultural powerhouse again.
It was, they had, I think they saw it coming, and they had, I mean, somebody who knows their shit about Germany can probably prove me wrong on this, but I think they kind of saw it coming, and they had the unification government kind of had an economic stimulus program already in mind that also included the arts, because I think even the sort of the Eastern Bloc version of Germany, East Germany, was also still had very generous arts program handouts.
All those arts were very beige and gray.
As long as your product sang the praises of communism, like
yes.
you could have all the money you fucking needed.
So he ended up getting a bunch of money from that, and it sounds like he just kept kind of badgering them a little bit until finally they were like, "Fine, here, go away, take this money and go away." So they gave him a bunch of money, and he said at the time they were one of the only bigger films that were in production in Germany. And so they kept getting calls from all these people that were like, "Oh, do you have a role for me? Or can I be an extra?" And so they just started like making roles for people, just little roles for people. Cause they were like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" And so that's why there's like a shitload of people in this movie. Cause they were just like, all their friends were like, "Hey, can I be in your movie?"
That's awesome. It's kind of like me with Brad Caleb Kane. I keep messaging him, telling him to make us extras in the Friday the 13th show.
Okay.
Brad, I know you listen. I know you listen. We bring the goodness. I told you.
Brad, I don't know who you are, but I'll be on your show. I'm not an actor, as you can clearly see. I'm a podcaster and a low rent writer.
Yeah. But okay. So, but speaking of our cast, we got Udo Samel, who plays Detective Luigi Macaroni.
And man, let me tell you, they all are fucking tickled by that name. I got to admit, it's pretty funny.
As soon as I put it on, I knew nothing about this movie going into it. And when they called him Luigi Macaroni, I texted you.
Yeah.
His name is Luigi Macaroni. And you were like, just go with it.
Yeah. No, you got to ride the lightning.
Yeah, stage actor primarily at this time. He has since gone on to be like a significant actor in sort of German film.
I have seen him in one other movie. He is in The Piano Teacher.
I was about to say the Michael Haneke movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only other thing I've seen him in.
Ooh, that's a sexy Michael Haneke
That movie will make you feel very bad about yourself and about the world. Just like most of his movies do. But that one in particular, you're like, oh, relationships are just terrible.
Oh boy.
We should all stay away from each other. Social distancing forever.
That's like those movies that we talk about that like they ruin certain actors for you. That's the one that whenever I see Isabel Huppert in anything, I'm like, oh shit, The Piano Teacher.
See, that's the thing about Michael Haneke.
She was recently in a movie with Paul Verhoeven that was very similarly dark and intense. And so like my opinion of her is just unchanged.
It's like, what's her face? Is it Isabella Gianni?
Oh yeah. After fucking
Possession. I'm like, I don't ever want to see her
I saw
in anything.
Possession, and then I saw Nosferatu like right after that. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, lady.
Yeah.
You're freaking me out.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
That's Michael Haneke's bag, is just making everybody real sad about stuff.
Yeah. But Udo Samel.
He is
he's a great actor. He is a very good actor. This is the kind of tenor of this character is he's like a hard-boiled detective type character. And
so Walz said that what he wanted was everybody in this movie, with the exception of Luigi and Billy, he wanted everybody to be a kind of caricature. He was like, but the one thing I didn't want is for them to be a joke. And so he was like, so they play it pretty straight is in terms of noir.
Yeah.
And everybody else, he was just like more, bigger. And that's why like everybody is fucking huge in this movie.
I know. And him in particular, he is playing a hard-boiled Raymond Chandler, like the big sleep detective in a movie where monster condoms bite penises off.
Yep. And he does it.
Incredibly
well.
Incredibly well. It must have been a lot of fun to play this character.
That is the sense that I got from watching a bunch of interviews, is that everybody seems like they had a really good time. Like they were all kind of excited to do it. It's weird to think that, if someone had made this movie or tried to make this movie in 1996 in the US, I think most people would have looked at the script. Most serious actors would have looked at the script and been like, no, thank you. This seems a little bit silly. And it seems like the tone in Germany was different in that a lot of serious actors looked at it and they were like, yeah, this seems kind of fun. Let's do it.
Yeah.
He did say he had a hard time casting older people because a lot of older men didn't want to be in a movie about gay people. So he finally found the one guy who was willing to be like the guy who owns the hotel, who was just like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. It'll be fun.
That's funny. I also, it helps that in Germany, Ralf Konig is a big deal.
He is very big, yes.
So, yeah. We've also got Peter Lohmeyer, who plays, he plays Sam, the sort of homophobic partner.
He's got a real rubbery face.
He reminds me.
He does a lot of face work, and I find it all very distracting.
He reminds me of Jim Varney a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or the guy from Drew Carey.
Yes, Ryan Stiles, the dude who I am constantly being compared to.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have done that on the show.
I do not look like him.
Yeah, you used to, though. You also used to look like the owl from the Tootsie Pop commercial. So enjoy that, everybody. Used to drive him crazy when we'd say that.
Is it when my hair would grow out?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It was on the side.
Because every now and then I'll let it go a little too long, and then he still says, you look like an owl. Yeah. Okay. And rounding out our cast, Leonard Lansink.
Who is very good in this, but probably the only aspect of this movie that doesn't age well.
This is, and I suppose now is a good time to talk about Ralf Konig, because he is a fucking celebrity cartoonist in Germany. He is very well known throughout Europe. And he is also, like, if you are into underground comics in the United States, you might be aware of him. His stuff has been translated into English. A lot of it has. You can order his shit through a lot of like small time presses translated into English here. You can get Killer Condom. You can get Down to the Bone, which is the other comic that he did, which is another Luigi Macaroni story.
It's the second half of the movie.
And that's what it gets kind of like squished into this movie, which is, I think, why this movie feels a little too busy.
And so why that happened was they had originally planned to do that. And Ralf Konig wrote the script for this.
Yes.
And so they had originally planned to do that, to kind of integrate these two stories, but they kind of got down to the wire with time and money. And they weren't able to do it. So they just kind of stuck them back to back.
And it feels it, because this movie plods along until all of a sudden there's like 20 minutes left. And it's like, oh shit, I got to finish this.
Right. And here's a completely different story that you're just now being introduced to.
Because the original cut, the one that Troma released, is about 90 minutes. And that's probably the Troma cut. The one that is available that I believe we both did is a little closer to 2 hours, or actually it might be a little over.
It's about 2 hours.
About 2 hours. Oh, that's too long.
And there actually was more. They had to cut some stuff.
That's entirely
but
too
even
long.
Walz, so Walz said that, like, he knows that you can see that. Like, you can see it when you're watching the movie, and he's like, I don't like it. Bothers me every single time, but there was nothing we could do. We had to just keep moving.
Yeah.
Because they really shot, a lot of this is like sub-Rosa filmmaking. Like, they are out there. The stuff in New York is all like no permits, no unions, nothing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But back to Konig. So his whole thing is he writes gay stories. Not gay stories.
But he started out that way because I first encountered him he had a bunch of, like, he had a strip. I don't know if you call it a strip, but there was a short-lived thing called Gay Comics.
I was about to say, yeah.
GAY Comics. So the first time I had ever seen anything of his was in those, because we used to have them at the History Project. And so I would remember flipping through them and being like, oh, what is this? Is like weird European stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of chunked into the middle.
It's a digest of
that's
comics for gay people.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And again, it's over here, obviously, it's a real obscurity, but in Europe, that shit is translated into multiple languages.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, this. So I was thinking about this because it makes sense that this movie would have done kind of okay in the US, because at the time, we're sort of at the beginning, or maybe a little bit in the middle of the kind of new queer cinema wave.
Yeah.
But I still can't think of another movie that is like this. Like, the new queer cinema is a lot of it's extremely edgy. It's Greg Araki, it's Todd Varro, it's Todd Haynes. It's a lot of like really kind of edgy, real sexy stuff, like dark stuff. And this is just a weird kind of romantic horror comedy. Yeah. Yeah. And just to think like so I can see it doing well here, but in Germany, I was just like, I don't know fuck all about Germany. I have very little insight into like the cultural context of this era in this film. But I still think it's odd that like they had really high hopes for this. Well, the production company did. I think Walz and everyone else was sort of like, I don't think you're going to get the return you think you're going to get on this.
And they didn't.
No, they definitely did not. But it was still like in West Berlin, people loved it. I mean, I guess Berlin in general at that point, people really enjoyed it. But like outside of that, it was still sort of met with like a bit of a raised eyebrow.
Yeah.
And then some people were just sort of outright disparaging.
Yeah. Konig's, the character of his work, I would probably describe as super cartoony, but also very adult. Like it looks like comic strip art, like the sort of shit you'd see in like a 6-panel thing in the Sunday paper. But at the same time, like for all of its kind of like ridiculous presentation, like all of his stories are very human, except for this. Obviously, like he does do slapsticky kind of silly shit every now and then, but like most of it is just like
relationship drama,
and like day in the life type stuff.
A lot of his stuff too was trying to address like the AIDS crisis or just like issues in the gay community, and that was sort of like his angle. And he presented it in a way that would have resonated with the gay community, and then to a certain extent just to general people. And it did very well, I think, because his earliest stuff was not gay. And so he had already kind of caught on. And so when he did start to put that stuff out, people were like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like he was never shy about it. But this is like when he got to this, it's explicitly gay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is a movie and a comic for that matter that does not have any like decent straight people in it.
This is true. They're all sleazy at best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to speculate because I can only really assume just based on what I know about Paris, about essentially the gay experience in Europe being essentially, they did not have the same sort of hang-ups.
Well, Germany did because it was decriminalized in 1969, but it was on the books still. Like paragraph 175, which was what the Nazis used to persecute gay men.
Sure.
That was still on the books until 1994. And so it was just 2 years before this that it was officially decriminalized.
Yeah,
and
was it like a blue law?
I don't know. I would imagine for the most part, but that doesn't mean that it still couldn't have been used and probably was used in a lot of places. Man. Like, I think once you get outside of cities, and the same is true in France, same is true anywhere, really, here especially. But like, once you get outside of those, it's like, it gets a little dicey. I think this fits probably with Troma's gross out thing.
I am sure that they saw this and were like, it's a movie where penises get bitten off by condoms. Oh yeah, this is all up on our shit.
Yeah. So here's a funny thing about this. So once I watched it the first time, like I got it in from Vinegar Syndrome, and I watched it. I was like, I wonder what other people think about this, because I have a very particular view, or like a kind of caricature sketch of the Vinegar Syndrome, the average Vinegar Syndrome customer, which I'm sure is absolutely incorrect. But in my head, it's just like, given what they put out, I'm like, I wonder how this one goes over. So I went and I looked at the customer reviews. And unfortunately, I wanted to go back, because this was like over a year ago that I looked for this. I wanted to go back and find the review, and so I could actually quote it verbatim. However, it is currently their Partners Month, so all of their titles are inaccessible.
Oh, fuck.
So I could not actually find it. But I'll give you the gist of what the reviewer said. So this is an overwhelmingly positive review from some dude who really likes the movie. And it's something to the effect of, just before you buy this movie, you should be aware that it contains a lot of gay content and themes. And I thought, I don't know why that in particular struck me like really strange. So I was like, when have anybody ever been like, look, I know you've probably heard good things about An Officer and a Gentleman. I just want you to know, before you go into this, there's a lot of heterosexual stuff in this, okay? It is lousy with heterosexual romance. Dirty Dancing? Oh, real man-woman type of stuff. Actually, in that case, it's real man-girl type of stuff, but...
Oh, no, that comment does read a little broy.
Yeah, and like he wasn't being... Like, I think one of the reasons it struck me is that he was not being rude, and he was not being cruel. Like, he thought he was being genuinely helpful. And I wouldn't want to make anybody feel bad, because I think it was not mean-spirited. But I just think it's really fucking bizarre to be like, hey, just so you know, there's some gay stuff in this. It's like, how come you never warn us about your shit?
Yeah. I do want to kind of get back to the sort of Bob Babette character, because an unfortunate quality of Konig's work, and I've read a little bit of it, and this is he plays trans people up for laughs.
That is very, very 80s and 90s
across the board. Yeah, I was just saying he's a gay of a different generation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you find it today too.
Sure. But yeah, that is something, because in Maybe Not, there's also a character who is not quite as balls to the wall as this one, but still like is a silly, it's a lady in a dress with a fucking blonde wig and a 5 o'clock shadow. It's like that sort of shit.
It's a lot of that. There's a lot of implications that like it's mental illness, or he doesn't really believe this. He's just a gay man who's working through some gender stuff. And, on one hand, that is a very harmful message. But on the other hand, it's like, it was just kind of ubiquitous at the time that it's like, I don't know what to tell you. That's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Like, it was extremely hard for trans people to be a part of this community in the 80s, the 70s, and the 80s, and even now to a certain extent. And he just doesn't work in this.
Yeah.
It's a little offensive.
Yeah. Last comment about Ralf Konig. He's a big anti-circumcision guy.
I mean, hey, you gotta put your time and energy somewhere. What does that even mean?
I do not know. It is a thing. He seems to be he's a real hard atheist, and he does, and some of his work indicates that he does a lot of
it's like an anti-genital mutilation type of thing.
It's like that, but it comes from a part of his sort of like criticism and skepticism of religion, because ultimately that's it's a Jewish thing, so,
and an American thing until not that long ago.
Right. So, yeah.
What a weird,
it's all about, I believe I read a translation. It might've been a weird translation, because it was Google doing the translation, but I read a translation of essentially this organization that he's involved with that does talks and shit like that, advocates for genital autonomy.
I mean, hey, if the underlying message is let's not needlessly hack parts off of babies, I guess I'm on board with that.
It's hard not to argue with.
Seems risky, unnecessary, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this movie, speaking of risky and unnecessary, This generally, because I wanted to know more about the people behind it. So I watched all these interviews.
Okay.
And Martin Walz is he's just a very engaging person to watch. He's very thorough in his answers. He seems to have a very good memory of this. And I think partially because they had a lot of fun doing it. He said that he wanted to go. So his biggest inspiration was Little Shop of Horrors. And I think you can see that.
I can kind of see that.
But he was like, so he knew that he wanted to make this a funny thing because it's a comic book. It's kind of a little, it's tongue in cheek. And so he's like, I wanted it to be a comedy. He's like, but there were certain parts of the movie that I absolutely did not want to be funny, and I wanted them to be very serious. Primarily the love story was the biggest one. He was like, that's not a joke. We're not treating that as a joke. And then like some of the homophobia, he was like, I wanted to walk a line where we were kind of we're sort of taking the piss, as the British say. But at the same time, we don't want to undermine it because it is a very serious thing. It is a very big problem. And so he was like, we wanted to sort of show it in this way, but also kind of like take some shots at it a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, very, kind of a very forward-thinking, progressive thing.
Yeah.
The mad science plot was the part that he really was like, we're going to lean all in on that. Because that, like, the mad science part is
when that happens, it's like, whoa, boy, we have accelerated.
Yeah, it represents, he was like, this is what represents the Christian right, so to speak. You know, I don't know, whatever the equivalent would be in Germany. And so he was like, but again, there's nothing funny about somebody wanting to kill all the gay men in New York.
Right.
And so he was like, we had to be very, very careful about how we did this. And he had, like, the woman who plays the mad scientist at the end, she's the biggest actor in the movie, apparently. Like, she was the most well-known person.
Really?
And she's the reason they got a lot of the money that they ended up getting.
Oh, no
and she
shit.
wanted to be in it. She was like, she read the script and she was like, hell yes, I'm into this. Let's do this.
That's awesome.
She was part of the acting, like the theater troupe that Udo Samuels is part of. So that was kind of like, they all kind of knew each other a little bit. So they get the 5 million marks to make this movie, which is like, I don't know, about $4 million.
Okay.
Probably at the time. And they go out and he was like, he knew that he wanted to, it's got to be a lot of effects in this film because it's big, it's a sci-fi kind of thing. And he was like, he got all these like reels from people and like, bids to do the special effects. But he was like, all they did was like space stuff. And he was like, so they're sending me these, like these reels where it's just like spaceships floating through space. And I was like, well, this isn't what I want. Like, can you make me a killer condom? And so he was like, he remembered the guy, I do not remember his name. The guy who was like his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend was the lead actress in Necromantic.
Yeah. All special effects in this were done by Jorg Butgereit.
Yes.
And
so,
when I saw that, I went, what?
Well, so because of this connection between his ex-girlfriend and she was in Necromantic, so he was like, that guy will know exactly what to do. And so he kind of gets a hold of him and he was like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do this.
He's like, yeah, I've made a movie with severed penises before.
Yeah, nailing penises to boards and shit. So he does, like, he agrees to do it. It's all practical effects. Some of it's a little bit silly sometimes. But it turns out that one of the people who was part, like, for the funding for it, the actual production funding, was that knew Giger. And was just like, he was like, hey, here's this movie. And he was like, yes, I will make this movie with you. He is a very strange man.
I would love to have seen his sketches on this because he designed the condom.
So you can see, if you buy the Blu-ray, some of them you can see them on there. He had a train that would ride all through his house and around the grounds. You could just get on it and ride around his house.
Good.
Like Silver Spoons.
Was it like an evil train?
I don't think so. I think it was just a
with
train.
Like a lot of phallic imagery. No,
probably. I bet the house was. So he, his role in this is a little unclear, but it sounds like he did a lot of production design, like set design with them, especially at the end, like when they get into the mad science lab. So he did a lot of that. He, I believe, designed the giant condom at the end.
That thing's pretty.
He was just sort of, he was super into it, and he was like, he did. I don't think he did a lot because they didn't have a lot of money. And I imagine he was probably pretty expensive at that point. but he did do a lot of like sketches and just sort of general design for the way everything would look. I'm surprised because I don't see his aesthetic in any of it.
Nothing. Not even in the condoms.
Nope. But he seems to really like it. So that was good.
That's good.
But yeah, they finished the whole thing, and they go out and they were like, all right, we're going to take this to all these festivals. Apparently all the premieres were at open air theaters and it rained at every single one of them. And this was just like, this sucked. The premiere, the experience was fucking terrible. And then like the film, the producers were like, this is going to be great. We're going to make a ton of money. Everybody loves Ralf Konig. And they were like, okay, man, I don't think you're going to make that much money. Like, this is a very gay story. Like, you're not going to get a huge reaction from a mainstream audience in a story where all the straight people are homophobic and crazy.
Yeah.
And they didn't. It didn't do that well. And then so it did sort of get to, the way it got to Troma is a little bit weird. Like, the guy who played Sam was in another movie. And so that movie ended up at like a festival in California, and he was talking to someone from, I think either from Troma or from like some adjacent thing. And he was like, oh, I'm working on this other thing right now, this killer condom thing. And so the next year when they're like combing through all the movies for this festival, they were like, hey, where's that other movie? Like, what happened to that one? And they were like, oh, it's not here. And so they called them up and they were like, give me that. I want to see that. And so they sent them a copy of it, and that's how it got to Troma. And like, Troma is really good at getting shit into festivals. Their name obviously carries a lot of weight. And so they get into festivals, and then it kind of winds up in all these Troma retrospectives, and then it hits VHS, and it does pretty well.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Because I will say this, we can shit on Troma's sort of their own productions as much as we like, but they're pretty good at picking shit to get distributed. Because like not every
town.
It was like not every Troma, not every movie bearing the Troma title is, the Toxic Avenger.
No, most of them are still pretty terrible though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still going to get Mother's Day.
This is true.
At the end of the day, you still get Mother's Day,
which Vinegar Syndrome also put out.
Yeah, it's not a good movie. I found Udo Samuel to be the most interesting thing about the movie. So he said he was drawn to this, and he was like, whenever I take a part, he's like, I try to find the thing about the character that is like the thing about me. Like, how do I find myself in this role? So he was gay. He's gay. And he was like, so that was sort of where I was coming from. And he is much like Konig. He is a gay of a different age. And his perspectives on things, I don't know. I was left a little bit sad about it because he was just kind of like, he was talking about how at that time he was very hopeful in Germany and just sort of around the world. He was like, it seemed like people were willing to kind of open their minds to this and be a little more tolerant of this. And he was like, and I'm afraid now that window is closing. And I think you can see a lot of parallels between now and this time, which is weird, but there's a fuckload more activism at this time. But he talks a lot too about how the attitude then in the 90s was very much like, in Germany, it's like, nobody seemed, or at least in Berlin, nobody seemed to care that you were gay. He was like, but the attitude was like, just stop talking about it. And I would say, well, I would argue that means that they do care, actually. That you're gay.
Like, why do they gotta be like throwing it in our face and shit? Yeah.
That was pretty much, and that was very much the attitude of the 90s, was like, yeah, why do we have to talk about it? And it's like, I don't know, we talk about your fucking thing all the time. What did I just say?
Yeah.
You never warn us about heterosexual content. So he comes from that place. And I think, because one of the things he says is that he doesn't, someone, like whoever's doing the interview, you can't hear the questions they're asking. And his English it's good, but it's not totally great. It's not like super like fluent conversational. He's able to answer questions. And someone must have asked, like, do you think your being gay helped you play this role? And he was like, no. I don't think that, it doesn't matter if like a character's gay, the actor is gay. Like, and obviously that is, I think, to a certain extent true, but I don't think I necessarily agree with that entirely, because I think his being gay does sort of bring a kind of authenticity to this.
I was going to say the relationship between him and Billy when the script's not stepping on his toes, it feels like real. Or at least it has a quality about it that makes it very believable, or that he and the other character have some real experience with this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that does actually bring something to this. But again, I think that a lot of that has to do with his age and sort of when they were making this, and sort of his kind of coming of age era was probably the 80s. And I think it's always worth mentioning, because a big part of this character is that this is a guy who's a pretty jaded detective, and he doesn't see himself in like long-term relationships. He doesn't have any use, or says he doesn't have any use for it. And I think it's always worth remembering that for people like him, and for Konig as well, there was no guarantees about anything. Like, there was no gay marriage. There was no acceptance of this generally. So the idea that you could actually have a long-term relationship was, for I think a lot of people, just off the table. I mean, you didn't know if the person you were dating was going to die of AIDS.
Yeah.
And so you never really knew. And so that attitude probably seems a little bit strange now, but I think it was really legitimate at the time to be like, we can't even plan for next year, let alone 25 years from now.
Right.
But the thing about him is that he was like, the year after I made this movie, I met the guy that I'm still with today.
So, all
and
right.
So he was like, so I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It was really nice to see all of the people sort of on the back end really proud of this. And I absolutely think they should be. I think this is a really remarkable movie, because I cannot think of anything like this. Like, the 90s is chock full of gay movies. Nothing like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is zany and fun.
Because it's not full throttle crazy.
Nope.
Like, in America, a movie like this would have been...
It would have been offensive.
Yeah.
Everybody would have been a stereotype.
Yes, and to some degree, there's a little bit of that in this, but
I think there's a reason for why that is he wants these two to not be a stereotype. And if you're playing a noir detective in 1996, how do you come across as something not a caricature?
Yeah.
You have to have everybody else be a bigger caricature.
Yeah, but some of the things that I was seeing when I was sort of starting the research on this, like, usually my like ground, like square one for when I do that is like I start with IMDb and then kind of like work backwards through sources, and invariably, like, I always kind of like take a peek at user reviews, which is the stupidest shit in the world. But
yeah, never good.
But like in this case, like so many of them were like, this un-PC movie could never be made today, and it was a lot of
people say, these are the same people that are like, well, I can't say that thing I just said on the internet.
Right? Yeah, it was a lot of like celebrating this movie that they see.
I mean, it's dated as fuck.
Yeah. Like they seem to see stereotypes. They see it making fun of gay people it is not.
It absolutely is not.
Yeah. It definitely is not. So they're kind of missing the point. They're just sort of focusing on the Babette character and the penis biting.
Well, and this is why I am constantly harping on context. Is like, in order to understand these movies and to a certain extent to appreciate them, you have to understand where they came from. And how they got to be made, because the fact that this got made in fucking Berlin in 1995 or whatever is, to me, kind of remarkable. Like, it's a surprising thing that any of these movies ever got made in the 90s is really shocking, because, hey, everybody, the 90s was super homophobic, and trying to sell a gay movie to any kind of audience was like a no-go. Like, you had to make this shit with your own money. And so that's why it's always important to understand who made this and why and how did it succeed, or did it succeed? Because that's going to tell you a lot more than just sitting down and watching the movie.
Yeah. And this movie probably, I think if it were a little tighter, if it didn't lose focus like it does, if it doesn't meander in the middle the way that it does.
Yeah, it's a freewheeling film.
It probably would have done a lot better.
I mean, it is his first feature length, and that's probably a big part of it. They're working on a little bit of money. A lot of it is in New York. They shoot a lot of it in New York, and they had never been there before.
Yeah.
So like he had to rely on. Walz had a friend who was a journalist who lived in New York and had lived there for quite a while, and so he kind of was like, I'll take you around to show you where everything is. Like, so the scenes where they go to the police station, they had to, you're not allowed to film a police station. Just in general, you're not allowed to take pictures of it, like the outside of it.
It's like going to a casino.
Yeah. Well, there's a law that says you cannot do that. And you certainly cannot film inside of it. And so the way that they did it is like they pretended one of them was like, oh, I'm so excited to be in America. I would love to see the inside of your police precinct. So they took a camera, like a small secret camera, and like went inside and like got shots of him like smoking in the elevator and shit.
That is crazy.
They did the same thing with, there's a scene at the very beginning where the camera comes up from a manhole.
Yeah.
And they were like, and so everybody was like, you can't do that. You can't lift those up. It's against the law. You cannot do that. And he was like, come on. It's a fucking million manholes. I bet we could just lift one of them up, right? And so like he got down into the thing and was like slowly came up, and then they threw the lid back on and ran away.
They were like, oh my God, that thing was heavy.
Yeah, I mean, and they did have like, they had police escorts for stuff, and they had like, they were formal in a lot of ways. They were making a movie, but this was still kind of guerrilla filmmaking. So all the scenes of him just like smoking in an elevator, smoking in this tiny space, smoking on the train. He was like, I had to light a cigarette on the train. They had to film this as fast as fucking possible because within a couple of seconds, someone would be like, hey, put that thing out now.
Yeah.
And then he would have to do it. So there's like a lot of stuff like that, but you can see that it's like, it's a little loosey-goosey here and there because they're just trying to get this shit done, and they're in a country where not all of them speak the language. There is an American crew, but the American crew wasn't really able to communicate with them as well. I think it sounds like a lot of them thought that they were a little bit unprofessional.
Okay.
But then they would do things where they would surprise all the Americans, and they'd be like, yeah, we do know what we're doing. So
that's funny.
Suck it.
I will say it is weird as hell for them to be speaking German in New York.
Yeah, it is very jarring. I think it's hilarious. I think there's something very, very funny about it.
I don't know why, but I was expecting there to be a dub.
I remembered there being one, but there is not.
Nope.
And you don't need one, but
no. I don't imagine you have any reviews.
Well, would you like to know what the critics thought of this movie?
Yes, I would.
Because not very much. Let's start with Lawrence Van Gelder of the New York Times, the old gray lady.
The grayest of ladies.
As it were. That this German language film with English subtitles also deals with dislocation, urban anatomy, love, and tolerance is among its assets, as are its fun with movies like Psycho and its mockery of American politicians who preach moral values while practicing familiar vices. On the other hand, the film is a flaccid detective story that after far too long dredges up a standard issue eccentric old scientist and a flipped out female physician with a bad case of religious fanaticism to explain its mystery. I mean, he's kind of not wrong, but my girl Kevin Thomas let me down on this one.
Oh no.
Kevin Thomas, it's a very short review. Martin Walz's Killer Kondom is strained, tedious sex horror comedy that doesn't travel well, even though it's set in Manhattan. That's literally almost the extent of the review.
Oh my God.
Well, the Chicago Tribune, on the other hand, Killer Kondom is a hilarious and subversive German comedy taken from Ralf Konig's graphic comic book about a killer strain of contraceptives unleashed in New York's lower depths. The discordant combination of noir elements and gay outrageousness creates a weird and deranged synthesis of possibility and, finally, a moving romanticism.
Okay.
That is how I feel about this one.
Yeah.
So here's a little review from up north, from the Great White North, as it were, I believe is what they call it.
I know that for a fact.
Montreal.
Ooh, so it's in French.
Yeah, they refer to themselves as French. It's a timely warning about the perils of unsafe sex as mutant condoms grow teeth. Instead of providing protection, these rubber hybrids castrate the user. This makes little marketing sense, but works so well on screen. Please list Killer Kondom along with Godzilla, Armageddon, and Deep Impact as recent movies that celebrate the destruction of Manhattan, depicted here as an island inhabited by German-speaking fetishists.
That's funny.
So this gentleman from the Gazette, the Montreal Gazette, really liked this movie.
He gets it.
And finally, the Philadelphia Inquirer. Killer Condom is a brash comedy about a gay New York cop out to subdue a renegade batch of condoms with teeth that have already maimed a presidential candidate and hurled the city into panic. This film is not for everyone.
That's it.
That's why I put that one in there, because it's funny.
That's
So,
awesome.
yes, the consensus is it's wacky, it's fun, and if you're willing to go along with it, you'll have fun, but it's not very serious, and
That's
it's
cool.
sometimes not very good.
Yeah. All right.
There you have it.
Well, it's a real mixed bag, a real potpourri of thought on this movie.
A potpourri of queer outrageousness.
So, shall we talk specifics?
Yes, let's.
Okay. So, we open on Times Square in New York City.
Germany. Times Square, Germany.
The titles are in the Simpsons font.
They are.
I was tickled like nothing else. A real sleazy dude takes a young woman named Phyllis to Der Quickie Hotel.
And hey, the sex hotel is jumping.
It's fucking.
It is a hub of activity.
It is like it's the hottest spot in New York. Yeah. He stammers a lot while concealing his purpose. He'd like to know where he can buy some condoms and learns that one of the many perks at staying at the Hotel Quickie is that they provide the rubbers for a fast, smooth transaction of sexual congress.
Oh, so the guy who's playing the hotel owner, the guy at the desk.
Yeah.
He was the one that was kind of like, he reluctantly agreed to get on board. And Walz tells the story. He's like, many years later, he was like, I was flipping through a book of like headshots and stuff. And he came across this guy's CV, and he was like, I looked at the top 3 movies on his CV were a Visconti movie, a Billy Wilder movie, and Killer Condom.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is fucking amazing. So when they get to their room, we learn that he's a teacher or something of hers, and that while she thought she was going to graduate from university, she was short on points, but it's all good. Don't worry. He's going to hook her up with the points she needs, but there's a catch, you see.
And all the while, their conversation is obscured by the sound of people fucking in the background, and it is very funny.
It is very funny because it is enthusiastic sex.
Yeah.
He longs for her. He yearns for her touch.
Yeah.
And then she screams him off in such a way that it blows his hair back.
Yeah, this scene is for all the horror that it is portraying, it is played with a characteristic humor of the 90s.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, isn't this funny the way he coerces and strong arms her into having sex with him? Oh, teachers.
Yeah. When he tells her that he doesn't intend to force her into anything she doesn't want to do, she will, however, be without those needed points. So she starts to undress and cry while he slips on the provided condom.
It's a terrible moment. But it is a little bit reminiscent of that scene in Fame.
Yeah.
Et vous, Coco? Et vous?
Yeah. It makes some squeaky sounds, and then he makes a pained expression, and she screams as blood sprays all over her.
It's wonderful.
So at the NYPD, we meet Detective Luigi Macaroni, a hard-bitten dude in shades and an overcoat.
What I love is when Macaroni walks in, he gets off the elevator and walks in, and above the elevator is like the NYPD shield, but it's very clearly like, it looks like it's made of construction paper.
Yeah.
Or like, what is that, oak tag?
Yeah.
Like the real thin, flimsy stuff.
Yeah.
It's like someone just made it and slapped it up there.
Right. Yeah, and this place is basically the detective pit from NYPD Blue.
Yes. He's a super interesting character. I know that like there's a way that he is designed in the comic book, and Udo Sammo looks very much like the character in the comic book, and they're really modeling him off of, like you said, like fuck is his name?
Raymond Chandler.
Yes. So this is Raymond Chandler. He's a Philip Marlowe character.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
That's right.
But it is very interesting, the representations of body types in this movie, because I mean, I think Udo Sammo's a very handsome guy, but he's kind of like a schlubby, kind of frumpy detective. He's like if Columbo were kind of cute.
Yeah, okay.
You know, it's like that. But like he has this way about him. Like the reason I think he's so funny is he has this way about him that like Just a lot of gay dudes would be into him.
Yeah.
They just would.
It's he is classic dad bod.
Yeah.
You know.
He definitely is. And he's got something that is, again, I think that if he were not gay, he would not play this character in quite the same way.
Yeah.
And it just would not work as well.
Yep. So now the police captain points out some of New York's finest sex workers and then makes the claim that each of them bit off their clients' wangs. But there's also another girl in the office for a similar situation, but she's a student, not a pro. She's not handling...
She is a, quote, well-behaved Oklahoma teenager.
She's not handling the situation well. She asks the interrogator, is sex always like that? So they bring Phyllis's parents in from Oklahoma, and you know they're from Oklahoma because her dad has a big handlebar mustache and a cowboy hat.
Yes, they're from Farmville, Oklahoma. And these two are also from the theater group that Samuel and the other woman are from.
They're pretty funny, yeah. And they explain to him what happened. It hits like a bomb. Phyllis's mom keeps passing out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Detective Macaroni sits in a cab as he heads downtown, delivering some hard-boiled Travis Bickle inner monologue.
Yes, it is very good.
And then he hits 42nd Street, which does not look like this anymore. Not even a little bit.
I want to say unfortunately, but it's probably for the best.
Probably for the best, yeah.
But hey, if anybody wants a great sort of a recounting of that era, please go out and buy Samuel Delaney's Times Square Red, Times Square Blue.
You can also watch...
You will learn all about it.
You can watch The Killing of America also and see a lot of that shit.
That's darker. That's less fun.
Down in the dirtiest back alley, he finds Hotel Quickie, where a drag queen performs the Etta James joint. At Last.
At Last.
At
now
Last.
Look, that shit could not have been cheap.
Oh, I know.
There's no way they paid for the music in this movie.
There are some big ass songs in this one. Also, he's in Chapel Roan cosplay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yes.
Oh.
He talks to the hotelier, who gives him a key to the room where the penis biting took place, but he also spots a handsome gigolo in the lobby, just plying his trade.
There is this, I think this is probably the greatest moment in not just this movie, maybe any movie. The way that, so he's like trying to get into the room. He's like, I gotta go up and see the crime scene and blah, blah, blah. And there's Billy, he is the twinkiest of twinks, who's just sort of like, he's doing his rent boy kind of thing. They're kind of eyeing him up and down. They're eyeing each other. And then all of a sudden they just sort of both kind of start walking to the elevator together. Like they're just going to go for, like, it's just, it's going to happen.
It's like he cruised him.
They did. And it's so great. It's just like, they just start walking to the elevator. Like they know exactly where they're going.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. No words are spoken between them at all.
Nope. They exchange some longing glances. Wonderful. And we learn that he's Billy, one of the best in the biz at Hotel Quickie.
Mm-hmm.
Macaroni and Billy head up to the room, but they're interrupted by Chapel Roan, who is an ex of Luigi's. She keeps calling him Lucci, which I guess means lollipop in German.
Yeah. Lolly is what, it's the way the subtitles.
Yeah. Chapel is actually Babette, formerly Bob, who is also a cop, and she is into Macaroni and follows them up to the room.
And the problem, so here's where this character gets a little, shall we say, problematic, is like Babette has decided to, I guess, become a woman in order to fulfill.
Okay, that was my next line, because she explains this and it does not make any it makes a certain kind of sense, but I mean,
if you lived through the 90s and were gay, sure.
I struggled to sort of explain this. My therapist says that
So here's the deal. This is an old thing. Like gay men had too close a relationship with their mother and bad relationships with their father. Now, there are lots of reasons why that actually is true. It has nothing to do with their sexuality. It's not a pathological thing. But the mental health, some people in the mental health industry and in wider culture seem to think it was an explanation for their sexuality. So Babette decides, based on her therapist's input, that what Luigi really wants is to be with I guess, a woman who's like his mother.
Yeah.
Because that's why he's gay. So instead, like Bob decides, then I'm going to go be a woman that will remind him of his mother. So the whole point of this new identity is that he still wants to be with Luigi, but so he's going to go ahead and become a woman who reminds him of his mother. It's fucking insane, and this is something people actually believed, and to a certain extent still do believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's deeply offensive because it implies a lot of like Bob is crazy, and anyone who would want to become a woman who used to someone who was a man and now is sees themselves as a woman, that person is mentally ill, and that's the only reason why they're doing this. And it's like, oh, yikes, come on.
I think I would say that the same conditions actually produce the sort of people who sing anti-woke reggae on TikTok.
I did not know that was a thing. And I do actually know because there is that one episode of God Awful Movies where they sing it at the end. Well, where Eli sings it at the end.
Yeah. In the hotel room, Billy
Shout out to Eli Bosnick for singing anti-woke reggae. He does all the things that I myself could never get away with. Good on you, Eli.
You are not Eli Bosnick.
Nope.
In the hotel room, Billy and Macaroni undress. Macaroni, in spite of his name, packs a penis so large that it casts an impressive shadow.
And this will be, there is something coming up that I think is very, very funny about this. And I'm going to save it until we get there.
Yeah. I call it
a real, to do with his penis.
I call it a real $5 footlong.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. What I like about this particular moment, though, is again, thinking back to American movies that were coming out at the time, especially mainstream movies. Think about something like The Birdcage.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Is a remake of an older movie. But even when you get, in that case, it's Robin Williams and Nathan Lane, one of whom is gay, the other whom is crazy and on a lot of drugs. But to hear these two, to hear Billy and Luigi talk about like sex between men, there's no mocking humor. It's just like a very kind of like matter, but it's also not matter of fact in the way like it's not lips or hips from Cruising.
Right.
It's very just like a conversation that you would have with someone that you do not know that you're about to have sex with.
Right.
And just to think about like other characters in movies at the time, these are both kind of masculine men who are about to have sex, and there's nothing funny about it. I think that speaks to what Walz was going for, where he was like, I don't want this to be a joke. I want this to be real and genuine. I want people to understand that. I do not want to approach this with any kind of mocking humor. Yeah. And you really get that the whole time.
It's weird because I think in anybody else's hands, like it's such a deliberate choice on his part that in anybody else's hands, this would have been a tonal clash that just derails the entire movie. But it doesn't. It just works into the sort of overall tone because this movie is about to go fucking sideways.
Yeah.
But it's constantly pulling itself back from the edge and sort of presenting you with these situations. That is an interesting quality to this movie overall.
And I think especially if you've watched, I assume you have not, but if you've watched a lot of like in the late 90s, there's a lot of kind of gay coming of age dramas and the relations mostly out of like Europe, but in the relationships in those movies, this feels very much like that. In that, like, it's a little bit lighthearted. It's a little like there's some tension, and then there's sort of like a larger social tension. But generally, it's a little lighthearted, and it kind of has a whimsical romantic ending. Mm-hmm. This relationship feels very much like those. Like it's just a standard rom-com relationship in this insane movie about killer condoms.
Right.
In which everybody else is a gigantic stereotype.
Yeah. So it must be remembered that Luigi went up to the room to investigate what happened there. Because a penis was bitten off there after all.
He just gets sidetracked.
He gets a little sidetracked. Yeah. They hit the bed, get to hitting the skins. Unbeknownst to them, the condom on the table lets itself out of the package. It crawls across the table, making all these cute little noises.
I do also like where he's like, I don't know about you being a cop. And he says something like, you can picture me being an insurance salesman if that helps.
Yep. Luigi's about to grab it and put it on when Billy produces one of his own. So the condom flies off the table and both dudes spot it.
Now, here's my question about the killer condom bit. Because, again, it's 1996. We are 2 years, I think, out from AZT.
Yep.
AIDS crisis, still pretty big, pretty full effect. This is kind of the peak. We've crested the peak, I guess.
Okay.
But I wonder the effect of this, because I do think a lot of Konig's stuff in general speaks to the AIDS crisis. And I think in a lot of ways, this movie can be read as an allegory for AIDS and the AIDS crisis more broadly. But I think it's interesting that the condom is the dangerous part.
Yeah.
But at no point do you see people engaging in unsafe sex.
No. As a matter of fact, it's just absolutely everybody is using condoms all the time. And in the movie's sort of weird dream logic, that's the problem.
Yeah, I think it's a very odd thing. Like, it's never discouraging of it, but it is strange to be like, here's a bit of a problem we have in the world right now, and you're making the monsters.
Right.
I don't know. It's an interesting approach.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it.
So Luigi looks for the condom under a nearby table, and it leaps at him, presumably biting his penis. Details in a second. His partner, maybe, Sam, comes to visit Luigi in the hospital.
Brings him a rose.
He does. The killer condom only got Luigi's right testicle and not the entire dong. He tries to explain this to Sam, who is understandably credulous. He busts Macaroni's chops about fucking rentboys and accuses Billy of being the one to have bitten his nut because he was seen running from the hotel half naked and in a hurry.
Yeah, because he's a homophobe.
Right. Back at Hotel Quickie, bunch of ladies joylessly entertain some dudes while the condoms...
Oh, I do want to interject and say there that he, once Sam leaves, he kind of continues his internal monologue, and he makes a reference to like how he never would have believed that this would have happened and this would have happened. And one of the things he includes is he never would have believed the Kelly family would be famous.
Noticed, I had to look them up.
Okay, for anyone who does not know, the Kelly family were this... they might still be a thing, I don't know, but they were very much like the Osmonds, but in Europe, and they were fucking huge.
They were Americans.
Sort of. Not all of them were. I think some of them were Irish.
Okay.
But they're like Irish, English, they're like a kind of a traveling family band, and they were huge in Europe, but not like where they were from. Like, it's not like they were like the Beatles in Yugoslavia.
Yeah, it was sort of like how David Hasselhoff was a TV star here and was a huge pop star in Germany.
And you could like buy their albums online, or you could get it off of TV at the time, because they used to like advertise in like the middle of the night on infomercials.
Yeah.
So that is why I knew who they were, because I, as a child, did not sleep. I still don't, but as a child, I didn't either.
A bunch of ladies joylessly entertain some dudes while the condoms eventually bite their dicks off. 13 of them to be exact. Sam still not buying it, but Luigi is going to get to the bottom of this. To drive his point home, Macaroni produces his balls and insists that the condom did it. So Sam recites the headlines he sees about this one: the cop versus the rubber, which is made funnier by the fact that the German word for rubber is gummy.
Mm-hmm. They do. They use it a lot. And every time I'm just like, goomy. Goomy.
So Macaroni returns to the hotel to get the skinny on the gummies. The hotel guy...
please, goomy.
Goomy. To get on their gummies.
On das Gummies.
So the hotel desk guy gets them from a wholesaler in Queens. Here comes Babette again, deeply concerned for the fate of Luigi's meat. He lies and tells her that the condom got his dick too, and that it's in the garbage can at the hospital, but she sees right through it. Outside the hotel, a sinister-looking Asian man in strange sunglasses watches Macaroni leave.
Okay, sorry, there's going to be two things about this movie that don't age well. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Because, oh my God.
I know. As soon as he lowered the newspaper, I was like, oh shit, that's not going to be good.
Yeah, this may as well have been long ducked on.
As he walks, his inner monologue lingers on the burden of having a big dick, and he moans about being disillusioned with love. But at the same time, he can't get Billy out of his head. Billy catches him out in the hall on the way into his apartment. And he also likes Luigi and wants to get closer to him. But with his wang out of action, there's no point, so Macaroni sends him packing.
Mm-hmm.
Back at Hotel Quickie, Sam and Luigi stake out a nearby room while Babette kicks it with a friend. Sam is grossed out and leaved as an Asian dude delivers more condoms. Luigi spots a condom on the table in Babette's room and busts in on the action to shoot it, only to find that it's just a regular rubber.
And then I love it though.
Scream is
After
heard
he shoots
elsewhere
it,
while they argue, and Luigi runs room to room to find the source. Landing on a room where a woman is holding the dude's severed dick. The inside of the condom has teeth, and then it flies out of her hand and slides down the hall. Luigi catches up to it, shoots it dead in the hall.
So when he bursts into the room and Babette's in the room, like paddling, I don't know what the fuck's happening, but he shoots the condom and then he picks it up off the floor and throws it at Babette and goes, "You probably shouldn't use that one. It has holes in it."
Back at police HQ, the captain is mad as hell and he wants Macaroni off the case. It's making them look like fools in the paper, he says. But Macaroni won't let it go. He's out for vengeance.
He's like God damn it, Riggs.
Yeah, you're too close to this. It's too personal.
Yeah, he's like, and he's the chief police chief in every 80s action movie.
Yep, he's the bellowing black guy.
Yep.
On the way out of the office, he spots Billy's mugshot up as a wanted man, and Macaroni freaks out on the police, all the detectives. And then he heads over to Billy's place and finds cops just tossing the place. They angrily.
And Billy's apartment is disgusting, by the way.
It is. It's like Charlie Kelly's apartment, and It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, and he has a Beavis and Butthead.
I was going to say, he likes Beavis and Butthead like most young American men of 1986, but he has terrible taste in music. That being a Red Hot Chili Peppers poster.
Well, they do go hand in hand.
And then he checks the answering machine and finds messages from all of Billy's clients. Back at Macaroni's place, can't get Billy out of his head. He's a hard man of Sicily, and he doesn't have time for this shit. As he showers, a woman sneaks up on his shit with a big old kitchen knife, and then she attacks. But it's just Babette again, trying to get Macaroni to fuck her.
So there's a great thing about this. They will, the way that they cleverly cover any frontal nudity, it's very obvious when they do it, but it's always very like smooth. He'll be like, he'll grab a towel, and like the way that he moves is like he turns and then it's right in front of him all of a sudden.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's great because they do it several times throughout it. It's like it's so well rehearsed. It's just Babette again. Like I said, she brought condoms with her, and they're stirring inside of her purse. And so he sneaks up on it and shoots it through the purse, just taking no chances.
Okay, so he has, at this moment, has it wrapped in a towel.
You'll have to speak up. I'm wearing a towel.
I'm not even counting anymore. And I don't know if you noticed this, but at various moments, you can see his dick hanging down from the towel.
Yeah.
And that's accidental because they made for him a prosthetic penis that is somewhat heavy. And the reason that he wears it, and he has it on the whole movie, and it is because they wanted him to walk as though he was sort of front heavy. So he's a little bit tilted forward.
Okay, so the drawings of Detective Macaroni are like that. That is a quality of the comic, of the character in the comic, is he has a massive bulge.
Yes, and so that is, they wanted him to, and so mostly he's wearing it so in order to remember to do that.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of a device, but it's hanging down from, you can see it hanging down from underneath the towel. It's very juvenile, but I think it's very funny. And I also think it's hilarious that like he actually had to wear this thing the whole time just to be like, right, got to tilt forward a little bit because I'm a giant dick.
That's fucking funny. It leaped out. Now the condom leaps out of the purse. They chase it around the room, just trying to shoot it. The condom with teeth snarls at him.
And it has a tongue, and it's fucking disgusting.
It's super gross. It is so gross. He gets Babette to attach a hose to the gas main, and Macaroni uses it to lure the condom out of hiding. It jumps up and bites the hose, and the Babette hits the gas, and they blow it up like a balloon. But she also breaks the handle off the valve, and they're unable to shut it off in time until the condom explodes. It's very zany.
Mm-hmm. It's like a commedia dell'arte.
Yeah. They take it to the medical examiner who looks it over. It is
so apparently the medical examiner is a very famous actor.
Okay.
I have no idea who she is. I know nothing about German cinema. I have seen a total of 12 German films in my life.
Most of them are Edgar Wallace, not adaptations.
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, they're so good.
We are so far out of our element in this movie.
Y'all, if you haven't watched any of the Edgar Wallace DEFA films, please do. There's a new box set coming out.
Get you some creamy movies.
Yes.
They're so fucking good.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Not a sponsor. But Eureka, if you want to be a sponsor, I'm listening.
Wouldn't say no. Wouldn't say no.
I will accept free films from you. You know what? Anybody. I will accept free films from anything. It depends on what the films are.
Radiance, Indicator, even you, Vinegar Syndrome.
That's true. I've already given you lots of money.
So yeah,
you owe me.
It turns out that this condom is a living thing, but appears to have been created by someone. Sam now apologizes for not believing him, but gives him hell for being into Billy. Then Macaroni grabs him by the lapels and tells him, cut the shit with the homophobia, man.
It's an interesting moment because it's, as much as they play, Sam's character is probably one of the bigger caricatures in the film.
Yeah.
And his homophobia is a bigger caricature in the film. And I think that was one of the things that they were a little bit concerned about, is like, we don't want to push it so far where it looks like we're not taking this seriously, but also we want to kind of undermine the cruelty of homophobes. And I think it's interesting that he's not aggressive or cruel about it.
No, he's just shitty.
Yeah, it's more like systemic homophobia that's like insidious and just sort of everyday. And that is, again, very much what it was like in the 90s. It was just like, that was just a part of life. Like, that was just how everybody talked about it. Like, you know, and it wasn't like in the early 2000s when it's like everything was like, were you gay? Like, it wasn't like that. It was very much just like, oh, this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, so sorry. So sorry, my trauma and emotional difficulty is a big deal for you. But I do think it's interesting that they transition from that moment of this, like him kind of a grabbing Sam. And this is when they're outside the precinct.
Yeah.
This is actually a really cool shot that they do. That I think they were all very, like, Walz was very proud of this moment. So they're weirdly close to each other.
They have a couple of these moments where
he grabs him and he's like right in his face, but you're like, it kind of looks like they're about to kiss a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he turns and what they loved is that where they're standing, the shot looks down this street, like whatever street. And he was like, it looks like it's a rear projection.
Right.
It looks like a set.
It's like they caught it as the fucking sun was setting. And so it's
a purple.
It's a little,
almost.
It's a little golden hour-ish. But yeah, they're standing in the middle of like fucking like 40th Street, you know, in the middle of the day, like, but there's no traffic or anything like that. It's just a really cool shot.
You fully expect like someone to like wheel that set out of the way, like just push it out of the way on wheels. But then he turns. So Luigi turns and then walks into it. And so it just looks very beautiful and very picturesque. And then he just sort of turns and walks into it like he's walking into a picture. It's actually a very cool moment.
Yeah.
But the point that I was going to make was, it's interesting that they go from this bit of homophobia to his flashback of his mother.
Yes.
Which is sort of the origin point of why he's in the United States to begin with. And it's like the earlier version of homophobia.
I was going to say, like, man, you went to America to get away from the homophobia in Italy?
Oh, I'm sure it's just as bad.
Jesus Christ.
Probably worse.
Yeah. So yeah, he does some more internal monologuing, this time about his life in Sicily. If he'd stayed there, he couldn't be happy in a place like that because his mom wanted a Sicilian wedding, and dudes don't really make the grade in that respect. On the way out of the scene, Macaroni tosses some change to a homeless guy. One of the coins misses and rolls down the drain, where dozens of killer condoms suddenly emerge from it like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to spread across the city.
So I think this is probably where the movie turns.
It's very silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's strange all of a sudden where it's like,
all of a
we had this one murder story and now we have this kind of madcap science fiction.
Oh yeah,
story.
it is about to go fucking apeshit because over in Central Park, a lady eats some lunch when she hears a condom-like chattering coming from the nearby garbage can. She looks and one of them leaps out and bites her right on the nose.
Oh, hilarious.
I know.
Because what is a nose if not a penis for the face? You know what? Quote, put that on my headstone.
Listen, we've all seen Nothing But Trouble.
That's true. Yeah. And if you haven't, you can probably skip it. It's weird.
That movie
gross.
It's weird and not in a good way.
Nope. You will just think less of Dan Aykroyd at the end. And definitely less of Chevy Chase if you can.
Yeah. Elsewhere in the city, a conservative politician addresses a crowd about what it'll take to make America great again.
Now listen, I don't know if they were self-aware enough to know what they were doing.
It's
Listening to someone with in German.
Okay. I want you to, go ahead and say what you're going to say because this is crazy.
There is something extremely jarring and borderline upsetting about listening to the rhetoric of the Christian right being said by an aggressive German.
My note says
it is jarring.
My note says hearing MAGA shit in German really kind of hits funny, you know?
Yeah. Like he actually says, he's a politician, he's running for president. He ends his speech with, "Join us for a pure America."
Yep.
Now, if they are self-aware enough, and now that I've watched all this stuff, I would be surprised if they didn't know what they were doing. And if they did, this is unbelievable satire.
Well, Germany does have a unique relationship with fascism.
They do. I've heard I've heard rumors.
Didn't go well in the 40s or the 30s.
For anybody,
Or anybody.
really.
Oh, the resultant fallout, it was just a fucking disaster.
But like, if they did this intentionally, it is fucking brilliant. It is a send up that I cannot imagine a better way to be like, hey, this is what you sound like when you say that shit.
Well, also, I mean, they probably had some sense of it because this is the Newt Gingrich era. This is,
and if you're listening and you're like, who's Newt Gingrich? He's a real sack of crap.
Yeah, this is, we are past the sort of ascendance of the Christian right. They are now a sort of a formally institutionalized power in American politics.
Yeah, we won't get quite what we've got now for a good maybe 10 years, but this is where it all comes from, is this era.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were definitely looking at the way that conservative politicians in America talk and the presentation of those politics in German that had to be fucking deliberate.
Because he presents it, it is very much, it's done in that aggressive tone. Like part of Hitler's thing was like what he was saying was not that aggressive.
No,
it was
the passion.
Didn't seem that evil. It was the
that,
tone that he had that made it come across that way, and that is in part why a lot of people chose to support him. Is that he was a very passionate defender of Germany, and so to present it in this way, I was like, I've seen this before, and I watched it again and was like, God damn it, that is hard to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it sounds exactly the same.
Obviously it is very affecting because we both pointed it out in our notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Babette, meanwhile, gets ready to hit the stage over at Hotel Quickie. Macaroni drops by to chat, but strangely, Babette doesn't want to talk to him.
It's an interesting moment, though, because it shows that he is making an attempt to accept Babette's sort of new identity. I mean, a little bit. He kind of blows it on the way out the door.
The running joke is he keeps dead naming.
Yeah, but like it is an obvious tone because in the first half of the movie, he just keeps calling him Bob.
Yeah,
but like here, he is trying to make an effort to be like Babette.
Yeah,
and here you go. I've brought you this obviously a gift that you would give to a woman.
A travel iron.
I mean, a weird gift, but a gift you'd give to a woman, probably.
It's very handy.
Or a very theatrical man.
Right. But 2 in 1 here.
But I'll tell you what, as a very theatrical man, I have no use for a travel iron. I have never once ironed my clothes. No.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a trash person who wears shorts every day.
When I worked, there was a time when I worked in an office and I had to do it. And I appreciated a smooth, no crease shirt.
I literally have to have my boyfriend tie a tie every time I have to wear one.
when I go to like Freemason meetings, I got to dress up and I gotta smooth it out. Yeah. So, yep. On the way out, he spots Billy going up to a room with a dude. Things aren't really going Macaroni's way.
No.
In the room, Billy and that dude undress. The dude has his shirt tucked into his underwear.
Tucked into his underwear.
Like all the way in and out of his underwear.
What's great about the fashion is like they can shoot this in New York all they want. This is
Euro trash fashion 101.
Oh yeah.
Macaroni is about to leave as Babette performs a song called Teach Me Tiger.
I think this moment is this is one of the best scenes in the movie.
It's very funny. Billy,
this kind of juxtaposing shots back and forth.
Billy, meanwhile, leaps from the room and meets Luigi at the elevator. They embrace happily and fuck like crazy in the elevator while patrons wait for it to arrive at their floor. They go so hard that they break the elevator.
apparently the editor he knew her from something else, and she had mostly done documentaries. And so she was a little bit like, I don't know, I've never done like a feature film, a narrative feature film. I'll give it my all. I'll do my best. And for the most part, it's like, this is adequate editing, but I think this is like, I'm going to try and be a little artsy here. I'm going to go for it.
Quick cuts.
Giving it my all.
Quick cuts all the
and
way.
I think it works. It's a lot of quick cutting. It works really well because they are having aggressive sex. They are really into what they're doing in the elevator, but like obviously they can't really show it. And they're cutting like it's just quick cuts between Babette and this and the people waiting for the elevator. It's comical. And yet it has kind of a rom-com vibe to it. Oh yeah,
you could have put you could have soundtracked this with The Entertainer.
Yeah. You know? And then and Babette's audience starts off as being like real kind of not interested. And by the end, they're like on their feet cheering. Mm-hmm. And like even the audience, like when the elevator finally opens the door and they both walk out and like their pants are still unbuttoned and everyone's a little bit horrified, but then they all start clapping.
Yep. So outside, Macaroni gives Billy shit for being a sex worker, and it's enough to piss Billy off and drive him away. Elsewhere, at the MAGA guy's hotel room, a lady comes to visit while he soaks in the tub. She undresses while a killer condom floats his way on a rubber duck.
This just feels like mockery of American politicians.
Yeah.
And I am here for it.
Yeah. Also, Ralf Konig has a comic called Suck My Duck.
That is very clever.
Yeah.
I feel like Ralf Konig is he's the Dan Savage of Germany. If Dan Savage were all the problematic things about Dan Savage, if he were a comic book artist, he would be that.
There you go. So she thinks that the little condom on the rubber duck is cute, but then it leaps into the air and lands on his junk under the suds. There's a beat, and then it flies out of the tub, having bitten his cock off. Mm-hmm. Now the public is taking the killer condom seriously.
And what's really disgusting about it is when it flies out of the tub and lands on the floor, there's little chunks that fly out. And I was like, oh God.
Yeah. The meaty bits. There's a lot of that in this movie. It really, it kind of makes it a little extra, you know?
Hey, Necromantic. And if y'all haven't seen Necromantic, first of all, don't. But read about
its
it.
Sequel.
Yeah. You can read about it and it's some real gross shit.
It is.
So he got the right guy for this.
So yeah, oh boy. At HQ, Sally comes down from the Bronx to talk killer condoms. Sally being another cop. And
Sally reads very much like she's the goofy lesbian.
Right. She is the butch. She probably is Germany's powerlifting champion at the Olympics.
She's, she reminds me of Dawn French. Does she remind you a little bit of Dawn French?
I don't.
French and Saunders?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's who she reminds me of.
Okay. So
in a good way.
Yeah. So she uses her wicked animal appeal to get a dude to turn on his friends.
And I don't know if this part feels a little bit is this German comedy that I just don't understand?
Oh, it's gotta be. It's
because the guy's hair stands up on end and I'm just I don't get it.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Macaroni sends her out into the city to find out the deal with the church that used to stand on the site of Hotel Quickie. When the news runs a report about it, city officials go after the police captain because he knew about the condoms but did nothing.
Now here's where I had a revelation about this film. This is an allegory about AIDS.
Okay.
Because
yes.
What the police captain says, he drags Macaroni into his office and he's yelling at him, and he says, don't make a big deal out of it because it's only a few cases of fags and hookers.
Oh, yep.
And even late in there's a scene that follows directly on that where even the press won't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And so, I was like, oh, interesting. And then what happens subsequent to that is because the nosy tourist with the Dan Aykroyd in the park, that's when it starts to become something serious.
Yeah.
When a not sex worker and not gay man is attacked.
Yeah. So to go back to your why condoms question earlier, it runs counter to to the AIDS narrative at the time, where but honestly, I think obviously it's like, okay, so how do we pull this off in a way that's zany and wild and bites,
but not wildly offensive,
right? But it bites penises off, and they were just like, we'll just put some teeth on the condom.
So that's when I was just like, oh, how interesting. But again, we have now turned to the second book.
Okay.
Wherein, like, this is a different story now.
Oh yeah, it's
like
an entirely different. It's an entirely different.
It's
mystery.
the same character, but it's a different. Like, you may as well have started a new movie.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, I can see why he was just kind of like, I really wish I had more time to make this work, but we just didn't.
Yeah.
So they had to just kind of glue them together and keep going.
The cops turn up info about an award-winning Russian scientist named Professor Smirnov, whose work these days is strangely consistent with the biological makeup of those condoms.
And you're thinking, oh, is this Professor Smirnov? Is he going to be like the Dr. Wily from Mega Man? Very kooky, zany character who makes absolutely no sense. Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. The captain wants to send Macaroni undercover into the gay scene to look for condoms or something. It's
too gay.
Really unclear. Way too gay, way too obvious. It's a big setup to send noted homophobe Sam instead.
Yep. He says Sam will dress like a homosexual.
So Luigi sets him up to look the part with a leather harness and a yellow hanky in his right back pocket. He tells him that it's...
this is just straight up cruising.
I was going to say, even the part when he comes back and he's like, God damn it, Luigi. And Sam
has this kind of resting duck face that I find a little bit off-putting. Like, again, he's very expressive and very rubbery, but he always has this kind of like quizzical look on his face.
And he wears that stupid fucking hat throughout most of the movie.
Yeah, it is very, very odd.
Yeah. So he puts the yellow hanky in his right back pocket, and Luigi tells him that it's so dudes know that he's not looking to score, but we did just do cruising recently, and you all know what the yellow hanky means.
Even if we didn't, I would like to believe that you could all at least you can infer
its meaning. Macaroni, meanwhile, heads to the hospital to see how the woman who got bit on the nose is doing. She doesn't speak German, though, so nobody knows what she said. Also,
which is wild because this is Manhattan, and do you know what language she is speaking?
I think it's Croatian.
It's not. I think it's Portuguese.
Oh, okay.
And so
she's credited.
Find somebody.
She's credited as Croatian woman.
I mean, might be.
Or Croatian tourist, I think
it sounded like Portuguese. But like, you're in Manhattan, you could find anybody. You could find someone to do this.
You just walk outside, throw a condom. You find somebody who speaks Portuguese or Croatian.
Yeah, you can't swing a toothed condom in Manhattan without hitting a Croatian tourist.
Yeah.
You put that on my tombstone as well.
Yeah. Also, the hospital is full of dudes who had their dicks bitten off.
Now, I also found this. So now I was like, as soon as I had that revelation, I was like, oh, going to see this movie in a different light now. And so going through this hospital ward, it does have a bit of a kind of like a darker tone where it's like, oh, this feels like an AIDS ward at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's all men.
Also worth noting, Ralf Konig did a lot of writing on the topic of AIDS, being that he came out in 1979 and was like openly gay in the middle of all that. So that it was top of mind for him.
Well, shit was terrifying. Still is, but less so now. But yeah.
Yep. So
I have not done as much writing on the topic of AIDS.
Luigi spots
some, but no comics.
Luigi spots a dude he knows and goes to talk to him. He swears he's going to get the bastard who did this, but the guy is super sad because he lost his wang and has literal penis envy.
Now, this is when I was looking at it through this kind of lens at this point, there is that feeling of like a lot of the, I mean, obviously AIDS is a very difficult thing to talk about in general, but like there is that feeling that probably a lot of people are like, why do I have to die and you're not going to? Mm. And there is like, that's kind of what he's shouting at. It's like, why did this happen to me and you get to keep yours?
Yep.
And so it has this like double meaning. Again, I think this movie is way more complex than it is getting any credit for.
I think so. I think most people just get tripped up on the premise because it's very silly.
And the dumbass name.
And it has a dumb name and it bears the until recently, you could only get a Troma release of this.
Yeah.
And I think that Troma does a lot to undermine that message.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So now Luigi goes and visits the chapel while Sam hits the club.
He sure does.
Also, now Sally comes back. She turns up all sorts of information about the situation with Hotel Quickie. A local politician made sure to tear down the old church and make sure that all sorts of sex hotels, bars, and sex shops went up in its wake.
That local politician?
The MAGA
Rudy
dude?
Giuliani.
Andrew Cuomo.
That's right.
The MAGA dude who just got his cock bitten off was the guy. Mm-hmm. So now Nosebite Lady says her prayers in the hospital chapel, just praying her ass off, and spots a killer condom scooting around on the floor. She backs off, spots the altar open up like a secret passage. And now the shadowy Asian dude we've seen periodically throughout the movie emerges and whistles to draw the condom back to him, where he coaxes it into a bag.
Look, sneaky Asians are never welcome in movies. Let's just put that one to bed.
Yeah. How does he do it? Ancient Chinese secret.
Yeah.
Oh, so Sam finally chills out at the club while he's being served a big-ass glass of beer. Mm-hmm. Dude at the club has spotted the hanky, which Sam waves at him as if to say, "No, sir, please do not pay on me."
Yeah. Well, the opposite happens.
Macaroni does more monologuing about Sicily at HQ when in comes Sam to tell him that the dude peed on his leg.
He punches him right in the face.
Yep. He went to a club where people wee on each other. Sam wants out, but Macaroni gives him the same talk that Sorvino gives Pacino in Cruising when he tries to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is like almost 1-to-1. It's crazy.
Yep.
When the chaos dies down, they bring the Nosebite Lady in. She tries to talk to them about what she saw, but nobody understands what she's saying. I say Croatian, but whatever.
But hey, don't worry. She's pantomiming.
Right. A translator tries to break it all down while Macaroni heads over to the hospital. The doctor at the hospital meets him in the chapel.
Oh, you're going to skip the part where she's literally pointing to her eyes.
Oh, no. I do. That
the
was
corner of her eyes.
I did not like that.
She is pointing to the corners of her eyes.
She does not just point to them. She pulls them back.
She pulls them back to indicate that he is Asian. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, God damn it. Come on, Germany.
The 90s.
You're better than this.
Hit that soundbite you got.
Oh, no. Here we go. Yeah.
Oh, that thing is going to come in so fucking handy.
Oh, no. Guess who upgraded his system?
Oh, boy. Billy comes in looking for Macaroni, and the Croatian lady spots the Asian dude from the hospital in a photo from the video about the Russian scientist. Lucky for them, Billy understands what she's saying and points Sam in the right direction.
And I believe Sam says something like, he's like, God, why does he always know what they're doing?
So the doctor tries to talk sense into Macaroni, insisting that she's crazy. He starts asking about the Asian guy, and she seems to be trying to put him off the scent. Just then.
Now, did you notice on her badge the logo for the hospital?
No.
It's a dick with a cross in the middle of it.
Oh, that's good stuff. Just then, Sam, Billy, and the Croatian lady jump out of the car outside the hospital. The doctor starts asking some probing questions about Luigi, suggesting that men and women were meant by God to be together, and that maybe he needs himself a wife to keep him out of trouble. Also, there are only two genders.
Yeah. This is very much like, in case you weren't there or forgot, this was very much like the God hates fags moment.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Because this is right around the time Matthew Shepard is killed. Yep. And which I think is actually the year after this. But it's like that they are coming up in the news a lot because they are protesting funerals. They're protesting like veterans' funerals. Like they are getting a lot of attention.
That's the Westboro Baptist Church, in case you've forgotten.
Yeah. They're all related, and they should all kill themselves together.
Just leap into a volcano, hand in hand.
Or shoot each other in the face. Do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Just kill yourselves.
The Croatian lady gestures wildly about how to open the altar, but Sam isn't getting it, so she does it herself, and they go down into the depths. There's some panic and shooting, which alerts Macaroni. And he runs into the chapel just in time to see Asian guy disappearing under the chapel, and then he accidentally opens it and falls into the depths of a mad science lab.
So one of the things that Udo Samuel says is that he understood like how to carry himself as a detective, but he was like, never held a gun before. So he's like, I didn't know how to hold it. I didn't know how to move with it.
Tell. Oh my God.
And so he was like, I was constantly like kind of afraid of this thing in my hand. Cause it was like, it's loaded. It's blanks, but it's loaded. So I was like, you can really see that he's not comfortable with this.
Yeah. Whenever he shoots it, he does that thing that a lot of actors do where they sort of thrust it forward. Mm-hmm. And,
like you're playing Duck Hunt.
Yeah. You accidentally punch the TV with the light gun. Mm-hmm. So Professor Smirnoff, who is quite crazy, is also the creator of the killer condoms. He's about to tell him who pays him to make the condoms, but along comes the doctor with her goon.
Look, he is only in it for the fruit roll-ups.
Is that what it is?
As he's describing fruit roll-ups.
Because what does he call it? Red fruit jelly?
Red fruit jelly. So he's describing fruit strips, fruit, that kind of thing.
Fruit by the foot.
Gummy fruit stuff.
Goomies.
Yes, he wants goomies. He wants fruit by the foots, and he wants lots of them, and he wants them now.
Fruit by the meter.
He is very insistent about that.
So yeah, he's
also chained to his chair.
Yeah, she starts monologuing now because she's the big villain. She's doing this all to usher in the end times. The condoms were created to punish fornicators. Then she opens up a window and we see all of Macaroni's friends suspended from the ceiling while killer condoms leap up at them trying to bite their penises.
But I don't know if it's this. She might say it now or she might say it in like a couple minutes, but she says, "You're all so schmutzy."
Dirty. The word is dirty in the translation, but she keeps saying schmutzy.
Fantastic.
I love it. I want to learn to speak German now. So yeah, she also has a gigantic condom just for Macaroni because his penis is so big and it's extra scary. Mm-hmm. She has him whip it out so the super evil condom can eat it, and then it chomps angrily at its cage. And in the chaos, Luigi grabs the doctor's gun and the Asian guy shoots at him, but the ricochet bullets just let Professor Smirnoff loose. The doctor sets the giant condom monster loose while Luigi tries to free his friends. The professor struggles with the doctor while Luigi shoots it out of the Asian guy. And then the giant condom leaps at Luigi, but Billy knocks at the Asian guy and it bites his face off. Mm-hmm. Then Macaroni releases all his friends. While he's not looking, Doctor sneaks up, gets her gun on Billy, and then Luigi gives a rousing speech about human rights and God's love and how she's got it all wrong as the hospital patients just wander into the lab.
And so this feels very much like this monologue is essentially his way of saying like the Christians have lost the culture war.
Yeah.
Like it is over and everything is changing. And I watched it and I was like, man, if you only knew.
I know.
They will not let it go.
They will not let it go.
All they have.
It is conclusively lost, and they will not shut the fuck up still.
No.
So, the doctor, crazed, shoots herself, but it turns out to be Billy's fake gun and falls into a pit of the killer condoms. Poetic justice. Mm-hmm. Now, in the cold light of the morning, the press rush in to cover the madness. Babette seems done with Luigi, and it's now all about Sam, who is done with his homophobic ways after Luigi's rousing speech.
Yeah, the implication is that like his speech was so moving that he has solved homophobia.
The captain commends Luigi, gives him the month off to think about it, because Luigi's like, I don't think I want to be a cop anymore. And he's like, take a month to think about it. As he walks off, Luigi spots one last condom and he shoots it. And then he and Billy walk off into the sunset, planning a trip to Sicily together. Roll credits.
It is a very cute ending.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Look, I think this movie is a surprise in just about every way. It is clever. It's funny. It's weird.
Yeah. I'm not fully on board with it. I think that it is way too fucking long.
Oh, it's sloppy and it's long, but like it's just so... It is almost unique.
I wouldn't say almost. I think that it is a very unique movie in that sense. It looking from the outside, like if you have not seen it, you've just seen the packaging, you're going to think that this is a sort of like in your face, deliberately offensive movie. And it's not. It's actually quite touching in some places.
I think they executed all the things like that's why watching the these interviews was so interesting. It's like all the things they really wanted to do, they did, and they did them very well.
Mm-hmm. It has its moments, but I think that it's super funny. But what were you going to say?
I just like the fact that they're able to do this. They're able to present this romance in this dumbass movie about killer condoms that is a little bit sloppy here and there. But, you know, where everybody is over the top and fucking, you know, doing it for the back rows. And it all works. Like, I mean, it is too long. It's much too long. And it does feel like two movies squished together. But, you know, it could have gone so badly at any moment. And it never really does. Like, it holds together pretty well. And everybody is sort of like, everybody's clearly having fun and doing their best. Yeah. And it's just like when you can tell when everybody's enjoying what they're doing. And I think they sell it really well. I think I wish more people would see this movie. I think it's not a great movie, but it is a special movie in a way.
Worth a watch all the way.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is like just the cherry on top of it all is you get that great Boots and Pants theme song at the end.
Oh, it is aggressive.
It is a super Euro dance song called Condom des Grauens, which is the original title, which translates to Condom of Horrors.
Now, see, that's a better title.
Totally. They should have just called it Condom of Horrors.
Boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants.
They're condom. Yeah, it's so, it's a great way to sort of send you off. Very funny. Yeah, you know, there's nothing else really like it. It's definitely worth a look. We don't do a lot of German shit on here. I think we should do something about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been wading into German films lately, so we'll see.
Germany, I find you fascinating. But yeah, not much else to say about it. It's a good time. It's funny. I hope you were entertained by my commentary. Go ahead and give it a shot. So where are we off to next? Because I honestly don't remember.
Well, we are closing out next week, closing out Pride Month with Curtis Harrington's bizarre Grand Dame Guignol. What's the matter with Helen? I'm going to say some shitty things about Shelley Winters.
I'm going to say some nice things about Shelley Winters.
You're going to defend her honor. And then in 2 weeks, 99-cent rental will return with what has to be one of the weirdest and most wildly entertaining movies that I have seen in a very long time.
Oh, that's right.
Mad Foxes.
We're doing Mad Foxes. We're staying in that region of Europe.
I guess.
Is it Swedish?
It is ambiguous Europe. I mean, it is cars, it is sexy ladies, it is people just jumping in and out of bed with each other. It is a lot of weird dick. It is people just getting killed left and right.
That's the one comment that keeps coming up is weird dick.
Because I kept watching it and I was just like, why are there so many men nude in this movie for like no particular reason and at the weirdest times?
I have never seen this movie until you mentioned it. I'd never even heard of it. So I'm hoping that this is like when you recommended X-Ray to me and it changed my life.
Look, everybody, I get high a lot. And I think everything is hilarious. So I hope I'm not wrong, but I had a great time with this movie. So
yeah. All right. So we'll see you next week with What's the Matter with Helen, and then be back for all the weird penis of weird Swedish penis.
That's right.
Mad Foxes. We'll see you then.